The reviews are in for Pokemon Legends Arceus, and, well, is it any good? Let's take a look. Yo, whoa, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I bring you guys a brand new video today, and today we're diving into the world of Pokemon Legends Arceus as the official reviewers have come out, and we have 40 reviews on Metacritic regarding Pokemon Legends Arceus. So we're gonna dive into these reviews, kind of give an overview, and give you the breakdown of whether or not these professional reviewers, I don't know why I did air quotes, that's what they do, think this game is worth your time and whether it's good. So if you enjoy this video, hit that like button down below, and of course subscribe to the channel if you guys are new for epic Pokemon Legends Arceus content you don't want to miss out. And I'm gonna plug it myself. I'll have a link in the description to my personal review, which I posted yesterday, but you guys seem to have loved, and I give my honest feedback about the game after having beaten the main part of the game, and I'm curious to see how these reviews stack up to what I said. So let's dive in on Metacritic and take a look at what all these different professional reviewers say about Pokemon Legends Arceus. I think it's important to also set the stage based on some previous Pokemon games. So I'm gonna actually go through a few Pokemon games in the past. Pokemon Sword and Shield received an 80 score on Metacritic. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl received a 73. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee received a 79. Ultra Sun and Moon received an 84. Pokemon Sun and Moon received an 87. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire received an 83. And Pokemon X and Y received an 87. Now, for reference to another franchise, Breath of the Wild received a 97, which is, I think, one of the highest rated games of all time, and it's gonna be really hard to get to that. But now you've kind of set the stage. Generally, Pokemon games fall into the low 80s from previous kind of games. There's been a few that have touched 87. Diamond and Pearl was really, really bad. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee came under the 80 score mark, and we'll have to see where Arceus falls out. All right, so first thing we're gonna look at here is, again, we've had 40 reviews from Metacritic, which is basically kind of combining all the different scores from various websites that are reputable and what their honest thoughts were. And Metascore has come out to an 86 review right now. So at this moment in time, they have given it 86, which kind of aligns with some of the higher end of Pokemon, which would be the same as right around where Sun and X and Y was in terms of how these reviewers viewed Pokemon games. And I think it's important to know that this game is so drastically different from other games that it's not surprising to see some change in perspective. But this is automatically the #2 best Switch game of 2022, but I don't really think that means anything yet. And out of the 40 reviews, 37 of them were positive and 3 were mixed, 0 were negative. I find it funny that their review is an 86. Mine was basically an 8.9 essentially, if you wanna go check out my video, but I go really in depth in my video to every little piece there. So when we look at some of these different reviews, we see Telegraph actually gives it 100, saying that by tearing up the rulebook and breaking new ground, Game Freak is creating the best Pokemon title in decades. And I actually agree with Telegraph. I think that this game is the best Pokemon experience that we've had. From there, they're not quite as good. You've got a 92 saying it's a masterpiece for the lovers of the Pokemon world. The game lets us explore a huge world while we enjoy a wonderful story. I agree, I do feel like the story was really good. Games Radar says Arceus is a refreshing take on the Pokemon formula, stripping back the game to focus on titular creatures with great success. It's let down by the graphics. So their biggest knock on it is the fact that the graphics aren't very good, which you could argue are some kind of factor of the Switch limitations, but also just in the fact that, you know, Game Freak isn't historically known for the best graphics. My take on that is like, yes, the graphics aren't as good as they would love to be, but I think that they did take some careful time in terms of the animations for moves and things of that nature. But when you talk about the world itself, yes, there are games that are most certainly more beautiful. If you threw this game on a PC and like add Skyrim-like mods to it, it would actually be ridiculous. Then we've got Cog Connected saying, I wasn't sure what to expect with Arceus, but the surprise was a pleasant one. There aren't any gyms or gym leaders, but I found plenty of tough battles. The graphics are pretty basic, but the character models look terrific, and even the environments aren't too bad as long as you're playing in portable mode. I actually didn't play in portable mode the entirety of the time, so I will tell you that playing in portable mode, I don't know, but playing docked, I had no issues in terms of kind of performance, so that's something to keep in mind. I think it's good to look at some of the more negative reviews as well. IGN Italy said that it should have been the next new step for the franchise, but it turned out to be a disappointing experience. PC Mag says it's not the open world Pokemon game fans have been waiting for, but it's still the most ambitious Pokemon experience yet, and a fun collectathon in its own right. So they're basically let down on the fact that they don't think it's what Pokemon fans have dreamed of, which I would argue that After playing Legends Arceus, I have always wanted this open world Pokemon experience, and I feel as though even though Legends Arceus is not truly open world and it's segmented worlds, I actually feel like it was a better formula this way. I think if it was truly open world, the game would have felt very overwhelming. And don't get me wrong, my favorite game of all time is Skyrim, which I already referenced once in this video. But I think if you had it truly open world, the game would be ridiculous. It would be actually a little overwhelming. So I'm okay with this step for Pokemon personally in the segmented areas. I'm actually okay. I think ultimately it plays really well and kind of it fits into the lore and kind of the focal point of the game of gathering these research tasks and kind of moving back and forth from Jubilife to the various parts of the world. Pokemon Legends Arceus is a step in the right direction for the aging series, even if its technical limits don't always support its ambition. So again, the primary negatives are from a graphical perspective. Pokemon Legends Arceus may often look bad, but its gameplay is excellent. The mechanics of finding and catching Pokemon feel good and bring a sense of discovery to the games. Changes in the battle system make for more engaging and strategic fights. Some repetitive bosses and fairly standard story can't drag down how fun it is to play this new kind of Pokemon game. And that was an 80 review from XGN, so a relatively low review on the scale. And again, they have kind of hinted at the fact that the gameplay is really, really good. So that's gonna be the overarching takeaway here from these reviewers and from what I've gathered from reading some of them, is people feel that the gameplay is generally a fresh take on the franchise. It's a lot of fun. For the first time ever, you're excited to find Pokemon. Maybe not ever, but you're excited to find Pokemon that maybe you've seen in the past. Like, just strolling up on a Geodude for the first time is actually exciting. But a lot of people are let down at the fact that the graphics are not this incredible, mind-blowing experience. However, I will say, again, I don't ever feel like Pokemon itself is a franchise revered for its graphics anyway. And I do feel like this is a step above what we've had in the past. And at no point was I playing through the game and feeling like the graphics were hindering the experience in any way. That's my take on it, and I really feel like that's something that I think should be kind of at the forefront of this conversation when we trash talk the graphics, is again, I don't necessarily think that took away from the gameplay experience. The game itself is phenomenal, and that is not only my opinion, but it seems to be the opinion of many of these professional reviewers. GameSpot says, some of the new ideas in Arceus have rough edges. It's a slow start before you get access to many environments and mounts. This is an awkwardly first step, and it was a big adjustment for me, a longtime fan of the series. Once Pokemon Legends Arceus finds its stride, it's the most daring and inventive the series has been in years, breaking apart from the staid core and creating something new and exciting from its pieces. I do think that that's actually a really good review from GameSpot, talking about how there are some moments in the game where you don't get those mounts, like the ride Pokemon, very quickly, and it does feel like it slows things down, but you get access to one of the key mounts very, very early, which speeds things along pretty quickly, and I don't think it's a huge deal because there's so much to explore. So even though I would have liked to have some of the mounts a little sooner, what it does, it actually adds more kind of excitement and exploration to the game when you get those mounts later, because you'll get like the Braviary mount later in the game, and then you have the kind of encouragement to go back to some of the places you explored previously and now explore them from a new lens, right? From the view of Braviary. So I feel like while I understand this reviewer's take, and I agree with it in some regards, I feel like when you step back and recognize that it ends up enhancing the gameplay experience and allows for another level of exploration later on, it's something that I really value. And it's funny because I actually just played a fan-made game called Pokemon Infinity, and that was something that was really kind of a core focus in that game, where, you know, you'll travel a route and then you won't be able to complete the route until you come back to it later in the game when you have access to an HM. This game has some similar characteristics to it. Some things are gated off by needing Basculegion, some things are gated off by needing Braviary or another Pokemon, which I'm not going to mention to avoid spoilers. So I feel like with all that being said, there's definitely some truth to this, but again, I feel like if you're focused on the exploration aspect, it's really not that big of a hindrance. This is a really good review from Screen Rat. They say Pokemon Legends Arceus is the perfect entry point for those who have never played a Pokemon game, while also being a great way for longtime fans to embrace new challenges. And I feel like that is something that is so critical to the success of the franchise of the series. We know that Pokemon is the #1 media franchise in the world. They are successful no matter what happens. But in order for them to maintain that success, they need to encourage new fans to get into the franchise. And I feel like Pokemon Legends Arceus is a massive gateway to get people interested and hooked on the Pokemon franchise for the rest of their lives. So I'll put a link to the Metacritic in the description below if you guys want to do a little bit of digging yourself and kind of form your own opinion. And of course, I encourage you to check out my personal review after beating the main part of the game myself. I'm still excited to dive in, and I'm very much so enjoying the game even after beating it. I can't wait to do another playthrough of it, and I feel like I still haven't even come close to finishing it. So there's a lot to explore, and I think if you've been on the fence, you gotta get this game, man. Seriously, people call me a shill and that I'm being paid by Nintendo. Nintendo has been taking down some of my leak videos, guys, so I assure you I'm not paid by Nintendo. And I didn't really like BDSP, and I'm the first one to say it. I really think Arceus is the best main series game the Pokemon franchise has had, maybe ever. I really like it that much. I encourage you to get it if you have the ability to do so. Thank you for your time and watch this video. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. My name is Dan, I also go by aDrive, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.